that is, of course, dealing with what yours truly has discovered here. And I just wanted to show you all something very quick as far as the discovery and its tenacity, how strong it is. There's no reason in the world that I should be able to show you multiple temples across the world in which this discovery, the geometry in itself, has to deal with. Okay, that's not something that's done every day. So I'm going to first start off by going to here you can see different languages characters for how they write their language as far as a chart. So you can see Arabic as far as their numbers and everything. And it's great that they pulled up numbers because the fact is, all of these, what you're seeing here, is justifying what I'm saying as far as all of these different cultures have different ways of communicating numbers as far as the symbols that you see. But the things that are the same are what you count them as. It's not just teaching the same thing over and over again. You have to, until people show that they get the significance of what you discovered, you have to be very thorough and sometimes redundant in repeating what something is. So the fact is, when you look at these numbers, the main commonality you see is that the number zero is communicated with a circle, usually for most cultures. All right. So that's a constant thing. That's called frequency analysis. When you look at different ways of decrypting languages and stuff like that, coding, you have to frequency analyze. But at the end of the day, when you pay attention to these numbers here, they're all different at characters except for that zero. Now that zero is what you see at the back of that screen too. And I told you that the zero being right there has to be where it's at. That's something very important. The people who discovered this number system, 0 through 9, that you see here, which were the Indians, literally discovered the zero. Now, how is it that you have to have this like this? And I'm showing you that the zero, literally, if you took the zero away, put 1 through 10, you're not going to get the same mathematics. It all ties back around to the Indians. I don't see how y'all don't see the significance of that as far as how it's influenced today's world. Everywhere that you see these numbers, I mean, this whole phone is run off of these numbers. When y'all say zeros and ones at the essence of even if you say that only 0 and 1 are the only numbers, that's where this shows and proves to you that that's not true. Because some people have said that the only true numbers is 0 and 1. There's either something or nothing of something. But you can have more than one of the same thing. And this is a fact. So that's where that proves that number one is not, yes, you can have only one of some certain thing, a specified thing. Everything in itself is an individual. This is a fact. Cells themselves are not the same thing. They're individuals that make up a bigger individual. And that's what everything really, that's what a fractal is. They're small sectors of things that make up a bigger individual. That's all connected to make one same thing. And that's what it's a law of the universe. So that's where what y'all are explaining as far as God, that comes in. We are all different pieces of God or skin cells of or cells period of God, where God would be this bigger picture. Now, are there more than one God? That's where I'm at in life, trying to figure out is that the case or not. I'm not saying I don't believe that there can be one God, but when I look at everything in the universe, I see um, not just one of something. Even if you're an asexual producing thing, there's not just one of you. So I pay attention to these things. And the fact is, at the end of the day, when you look at these languages, numbers, what I'm showing you is the numbers are different, but for whatever reason, the symbols, when you go to when you go to Thailand, Thailand is building a new Angkor Wat. You see the same remnants of this geometry there. You see that? This is them making a new Angkor Wat. This is in the making. So this is without all of the design features like you see carved at Angkor Wat. And that pretty much is my discovery right there. You see a decorative aspect of the center. Where 4 and 5 are at on my work, there is something called if this is a timeline, it goes on for an eternity. And a lot goes on in between that time. And so that's what all of that really is at the end of the day. It's really explaining what's going on in between two digits, or like I showed y'all yesterday, 4.5 billion years old is the actual age of the Earth. And if that's the case, then that means once you come back here or a million years from now and ask somebody what is the time of Earth, they're going to literally say the same thing. The Earth is 4.5 billion years old, a million years from now. Because adding 1 million to a billion, yes, I said 1 million years. You can't conceptualize how old a million years is. And so the fact is, once you come back here a million years from now and ask how old the Earth is, it's going to be 4.5. Not even 4. It's not going to change that digit. It's said to be 4.543 billion years old. So that means once you add a million, it'll change to 4.54 from 4.53. So 4.5 would still be it. It would have to take about a good 10, not 10 at that case, but about 7 million years to be added before it turns to 4.6 or 4.56 actually. So I'm even tripping there. So it's still going to be 4.5. You just have to, that's how long, but I'm bringing that up because that's what this whole thing that we call time is decorated. That's what physicality is. Movement in itself is animation. Like when you see animation, as far as anime or just animation period, that's decorated time or time stamps. That's what everything is. These right here at that point are time stamps themselves, if you could understand that. So the time stamps literally be clips in time. So every clip in time, you would have to account for every second in time. It's breaking down at that point into the pixelation or resolution of reality. So that's why you see the numbers that deal with resolution, which is what, if these people built things like TVs and phones off of these type of concepts and knowing these things, then you would see that, evident in my work. So that's what you see as far as 720 pixels, 1080, 118, right there, 1080, 9, 720 pixels. It could be any other number, but for whatever reason, you see that that's replicated at 9. Very important. And so the fact is, at the end of the day, when it comes down to pixels, that's what this is too. It's a pixelation. It's kind of like Minecraft. If you look at Minecraft, that's what Minecraft has going on. It looks just like this. It looks just like Angkor Wat. When you look at Angkor Wat and Wat Pho Mapha, which is the new replica of Angkor Wat. And so the fact is, when you look at the rest of these temples that are actually in India, India has a consistency as far as this geometry being used all over India as the base of what you consider a Masonic chessboard. Every Masonic chess piece literally has, or a chess piece period, has its own functionality and power. And that's what all of these different temples, like they are made for different gods. A king and queen can only do what a king and queen can do. A pawn can't move that way. And so they go in a certain place. And it's the same thing for temples too. If this were much like, in order to help understand, an analogy, a chessboard, and all of these numbers carry a certain energy. 4 and 5 can do things that 3 and 6 can't do. 3 is the first enclosed shape. You have to have 3 points in order to enclose the shape. That's something that 4 can't be the first they're doing. You have to have 3 points to do that. Number 4 in itself, when it comes to creating a square, that's the only way that you can have a square is if you have 4 corners, 4 sides, 4 equilateral, equidistant, quadrant things going on right there. That's what you have to have. Number 5, and so what I'm showing you is that there's properties. There's something you can't change what this is anywhere throughout the universe. This has to stay how it is. This has to be how it is. You can't go to somewhere else in the universe and think that a square is going to change being a square. That's why I put this fractal on the square, because anywhere that you take this in the universe, it would always be just that what you see, which is a square. A rectangle is different than a square. A square is actually constant, just like a circle. It's the inverse of a circle, and some can say that, but I'd rather not. So at the end of the day, you also have hexagons, which are somewhat used to build in reality. I mean, they're not perfect hexagons. If you look at things like bee hives and stuff like that, honeycombs, I guess that's an example, but really it's kind of been shown to start off from circles there as far as larvae, and then kind of the insides by default make hexagons. But every number here has its own property. And so that's why I said, who can count? Who can understand number in itself as far as what's going on? Pixelation and reality, in that when you get high off of shrooms and cannabis and stuff like that, you can reach this type of understanding, a higher understanding of reality, because you can't be in the depths of the low and think like this. So I'm not saying that's what you have to have or have to do in order to think like I do and understand the things that I understand. It's just part of what has helped with the journey with me. Cannabis has helped a lot. So when you look at things as far as number, because I'm trying not to get lost, who can count the number of, because I'm going to start counting. This is the day that I actually start counting how many monuments this geometry has to deal with, because I can't count so far. I literally can't. So there you can see that's in Thailand. And so they're trying to make a new Angkor Wat called Wat Phu Mampha, because Angkor Wat one day will be, gone. It's only going to get older and older and older over time. And so that's why new monuments get built. So you got Angkor Wat, in which you just saw that right there. You could tell that that's just like my discovery, right? That you could tell that this right here, if you look at Wat Phu Mampha, like if you see this the top up there, like you see 4 and 5 up here, everything I was explaining, I was saying that 4 and 5, when you zoom into that right there, 4.5 billion years from now, it's the same thing. We're right there in that middle. It's like we're stuck in that middle 4.5 area over and over again. Because if you come back here a million years from now, I'm here to tell you to be 4.5 billion years old. That's how fractal a number is. That's what all of this is showing. Literally, the biggest number you could think of is shown right here. Every number that you can possibly think of is accounted for right here. That's what you have to understand. And so when like that ceiling fan that you see right there, you see how they're usually in the center of a room. That's what those blades right there. look at the 8 right here, the 9 right here, the 0 right here, the 1 right here, the 9 and 8 right here. All of these that go over the circle of the earth. This is a circle that you see right here in the background. This is the equatorial line. If you take a globe, I did something cool and took this and knew that this was it looks like a flat earth map. But the fact is, if you take a globe and look at it from the northern hemisphere directly down, it doesn't perfectly do it. And neither of us have ever seen the earth from a top view. But you know that if you take a ball in itself and look at it from the top view, it'll make a circle around at the middle point. And so that's something that's in common between that I noticed between the flat earth and the globe earth. I wanted to take something as far as what the earth is, whether a globe or flat, and put it on paper so that people could use the two and see the two, but be able to use this work in order to finally explain what the earth is and understand what they're living on, whether it's flat or a globe. Now, the fact is, east to west is a circle, and that's what you see going on with the numbers 0 or 9, if you can understand that this has a back to it. 4 and 5 would be at the top, at the back too. But you would have 0 and 9 going in a circle. That's east to west. But north and south is 4 and 5. Now, I brought that up because you're looking at a top view, northern hemisphere view of the earth, with the other rest of it that you cannot see pulled out at the bottom so that you could see it to pretty much communicate what you will continue doing with the process. It's like a to be continued. Everything outside of that circle is to be continued. You would do the same exact, what you're carrying out is the same exact thing that you're carrying out above anyway. You just flip the ball over. So you don't have to really draw that out any different, if you understand that. If you understand, because what these, I have to clarify too, the purpose of drawing this out at that point like that is because you're letting these ceiling fan blades spin over these blades of time, or time stamps in reality spin over. It's just like if you were going to time travel, right? What I'm getting at is those right there are like the stars. What gives us time? What gives us time is the stars and the sun above, right? And if the sun and the stars and the moon stop moving, correct, which you also see the sun and you see the moon, and they move in the counting motion of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is how we count. These is our seconds. So this is a consistent thing that's going on here. This is science at that point. And so that's exactly how things move around us. Nope, you can't debate that, right or wrong. I thought all of this out. This is not just luck by chance. You can't tie this many things together by luck, if you understand that too. How did he do all of that? I had to sit down and think this out. And so the fact is, this is my own form of science from observing reality and mathematics, tying science and and mathematics together, bridging the spiritual and the physical in a way. But the fact is, and using art as a tool as like a flashlight. You can't see what's in my mind. I'm using my art as a tool. Like you can flash, you can walk around in a room and you're going to bump into places and not know where you're going till somebody flashes a flashlight. And now you can see things. And I'm giving you a flashlight to the spiritual realm of mathematics and science. What bridges the two together at least. And so the fact is, these are points in time that when you spin them around, you're inside of. Literally, you're seeing the smallest. What's crazy is you're seeing me draw this out and try the best that I can because I can't draw it any smaller. You can't get in as a human being. Our hands, you would have to have a microscope in order to draw this any smaller. So you have to symbolize at that point what it would look like. And that's what those would look like the ends you see there with 0 and 9, with those black parts. So all of those, once you kept on zooming in, you would eventually get to ground level. And at ground level, that's where you see it drawn exactly how you see it drawn here, because it can't get no smaller. The smallest that you could get is what you see here. But it goes smaller than that, of course, because it goes into the microscopic essence of time and everything. And so I can't draw that at that. I'm not that small is what I'm getting at. This is humanely the smallest that it could be drawn. And When you spin this around, what it is this, they're the rooms that we're in. Literally, this is around me, as in the essence of time itself. If this is like a visualization of time. If you could see what time looks like, that's what this is showing you. And in order to time travel, that's what they're showing you with the different, like they showed y'all with the monuments. When you travel through time, when you die, with the what you call, with the Great Pyramid and other temples. They already speculate. You meditate. One thing's for sure is you meditate. What's going to open the door to your soul time traveling or astral project? Astral projecting is when you're traveling. That's all it is, traveling with your soul. But when you start to time travel, that's your soul astral, because your body cannot do that. Your physical body is subject to this realm. And so you have to get your mental body to time travel. And that's astral projection. That's when you astral project your brain into, and it's not subject just to the stars and where they're at right now. You can go through any point in time at that point. That's time travel. You can go past, present, and future. And that's what you see here. The present would be 4.5 billion years ago. What? The origin. 4.5 billion years ago, which is the present. And to the end, which is 9. And they come together. So that's crazy. All of that loops together just like that. I went into everything about pixelation and pixelizing reality, and it's crazy because those are like the atoms. Everything that you see, I was just saying to myself earlier that the way that you look at the world and everything, this is a 2-dimensional picture. Your eyes, like you see a TV or this screen that you're looking at, is 2-dimensional, right? But a lot of people only focus on the fact that you look at this world from a 3-dimensional aspect. When you get to an out-of-body state of existence, realize it just like this. You're looking at and through your 2 eyes. And yes, you see a 3-dimensional world. But once you start to numb it down to looking at your visuals, your vision field itself as 2-dimensional, then you'll understand that's like a piece of paper. And when you start to try to get out of body, I'm trying to best help y'all understand that. When you start to peel off and peel out of body, that's where you peel away from being zoomed in. Something has you at that point. You have to figure out, your soul is like stuck in a butterfly stuck inside of a cocoon, and you're trying to figure out why and how you are stuck to just and subject to just your physical body, your physical vision field. And once you can crack that code, that's where you can start to peel off of the paper when you want to at your own will. And that's where you start to fly off of the paper. That's called leaving and going out of body, astral projection. And that's where when you learn how to move things at that point with your spirit body, you can create things like the Nazca lines. You can fly up above and you're not subject to your human body. You can create the Nazca sun star and cross glyph and create a message. If you had got in contact with your higher self, you could create a message for the future, just like, and pick up on it, because you got to die in this life so that you could pick up on it in this life and carry on the same thing. And that's pretty much like what you see going on with me. That's pretty much what I've done. I'm trying to tell you when you wonder how. Because when I say, can you count, or who can count, I mean, how many monuments does this have to deal with? That's why I say it's just quite amazing, bro, that all of them different cultures got different ways of writing. But the one commonality that they got is what I showed you. That's amazing. So, because mind you, I showed you this right here in one of my previous videos. The secret places, or the other places that this is not seen. I mean, show, or this symbol. More meaningful. So I showed y'all already. I'm going to also be taking a map and pinpointing on painting the map with the regions of the world that you see this, so that you can see and visualize that this, I'm not stretching it, it's all over the earth. And I'm gonna do that all in one video so that you can see, goddamn, dude, I mean, this is something, this place right here, as you can see, is an Arabian descent place, or Islamic descent place, I mean to say. Therefore, you know that that's not India, that's not Indonesia, but they have the same symbol going on there. As you can see, the Chicana, if you want to call it that. These people are not Mexican. I just brought up India and Indonesia, but I've left out that that's way across the world in Mexico or Peru, I mean to say, because that's where it really starts at. You know, so that's another place I just added to it. So, you know, it's like golly, bro, like how the hell is all of them different places having different ways of communicating what numbers are symbolic wise, but you see that they got this one thing that they understand, but ain't nobody talking about it. Ain't no book made on it, on how extreme this is. At that point, we're talking about how we have so many differences that we make it out of each other as human beings, from skin color to all other type of things, racism. You know, people don't like and don't fuck with each other because of the race you are, but the one thing that you do, obviously, besides it, is this. I'm showing you. This is one thing we obviously understand, like God itself. Because you mean to tell me, even at that point, if you go into the religions, all of you have religions, all of these different places have different religions. You can't tell me that I'm lying at the roots. And then you're going to tell me that all of the religions that they have, literally, are you going to tell me that all of the it's fucking me up. All of the religions that are across these globes, that had this globe, if it was you, it'll fuck you up like that too. Y'all looking over. You don't get you know what I'm about to say. All of the religions, you mean to tell me, across the world have different symbols. Christianity has the Christian cross. Islam has a different thing going on. You know, Chinese people with Buddhism has a different thing going on. You know, and I don't understand how y'all wouldn't get it that they got different symbols for that, but when you go to their homes where they worship, this is the thing that they had there. Because when you go to Hinduism, which is where this started in India, that's what you see there on their religious temples. So it's like it means something dealing with God at that point. Whatever God is, it means that this is one thing that they understood under God, bro. I'm not saying that this is God, but that's why I'm telling y'all, if you care about God in this, how could you look over something like that? Especially if you care about ancient history, knowing roots and stuff like that. I don't see how anybody could look over anything that powerful and think that they're wise. I don't care who showed it to you and that you didn't find it out yourself. You have them to thank, period. And that's what I feel like y'all trying to look over. You got me to thank, man. Look at the sky blue essence of this stuff too. Well, yeah, Australia. That's the color of my work. So I like that. I mean, they might have. Here's another place. It's not just one place that I got lucky there. In India. Oh, there's my place. Sorry. Just getting ready to show you all. Just look at this bottom part right here. What happens when you kept on doing this shit? Seriously. That's like the fucking fractal of this cell, bro. Look. Now look at the bottom. Now look at this. That's what I was showing y'all yesterday. How is it that who can count? Now you got this here. This is in Peru. And you mean to tell me when you zoom into this right here, you got this going on. Right here where you see my screen doing it at. That is the center of my work. It's not supposed to be the whole thing. That can go on forever. You have to understand that. So you have to, if you're going to communicate what the big thing look like, because like I told y'all, you can't find my fractal anywhere on the earth. Ancient wise. You can't, at that point, I don't have a discovery. You can only draw, you can't explain this by mouth. You can only draw this out. Or if you ain't drawing it out, you got to put it on a computer. And I know that y'all don't want to go there and try to say that they had computers. That's what Corey's, you can't say that my stuff ain't important at that point, because at that point, I'm proving they had computers if they didn't draw it out. You have to either put it in stone as far as drawing out or draw it on paper. And we don't find any piece of paper where what I've literally drawn out is drawn out. But if you're going to put it in stone to try to leave it behind because you don't want it to be forgotten, this would be a valid thing to consider an attempt. Because if you would have continued that wall, you could have put the whole design there. And I'm showing you that when I finished my project that I showed y'all literally on, look at this wall. And look at, you see this right here, how big that man was. Area is right here. Seriously, look at this really good. See how tall he is? And then imagine my work being stood up that you see featured on my page. I mean, on my channel. I don't see it as far as the update. The old one. Because now that I'm live, it doesn't have that as the home page, so I gotta find the video. I gotta go all the way down. All of these damn videos from this thing fucking with me. Just cluttering up space. Just sick. Right here. So what I'm showing is what I drew out is this. Zoom out. Shut off. Zero. Please.
I already tell y'all where the earth will be the universe. Looking at would be the
air. So with ley lines and everything, you got to understand that's where with them building the ley lines, you ain't gonna build the monuments to look like the scattered lines. You have to understand that this would be them being built on the points in time that points in time have energy. And they drawing lines from one building to the next, one site to the next. I don't see how nobody wouldn't get it. This is a huge discovery.
The whole fractal essence.
You see that right there? So if you stood this up, that's where I was showing.
Thank you, Mind's Eye, for coming.
But that's cold.
Dropping a comment. The generosity of that is appreciated.
That's cold.
Generosity of that is appreciated. Go ahead and leave.
That's ridiculous. Whole damn thing, the same thing never ends. That's crazy. I don't see the video I was just watching. Oh yeah, I do. I'm tripping. Seriously, look at this, really good. And there you go. I forgot it was my video in this picture right here. Caused that. But anyway. Yeah, if you was gonna make exactly what you just saw drawn out on the ground, as far as a discovery, be known in stone, it's either it would be walkable on the ground, it ain't gonna float in the sky, or it will be standing up as a wall, as you see right there. So it only had one of two choices. Now the man in the video that I showed, literally, he said and mentioned that this seems like some type of signature, because I mean, what's the point of putting that there? What is it telling? It's the only thing that's there. That's his signature. And that's what I'm trying to help y'all understand. Now, only kings built sun temples. I'm trying to show you that this has to deal with being a king, bro. As well, too. I know it's a trip, but this is a fact. Kings built temples. Shout out to J-Ma. Who did they build them for? The gods, of course. We know that. Man, this thing stay playing with this screen. You could see that. I'm not, you could hear me pecking at the screen. I'm not sliding my finger on the screen. That's that spirit fucking with the screen, literally. Temples also served as stages for rituals, including daily offerings. And, well, it's not answering the way, of course, that I want to, but residences of gods and goddesses. But of course, places like Cambodia, which is the biggest religious temple made on the earth so far, you have to understand that their gods were the people themselves. Straight up, gods and kings were one. I can prove that were Cambodians. Yes, Cambodian kings, particularly during the Khmer Empire, were widely considered to be divine or god kings through the practice of Devaraja. This concept, deeply rooted in Hindu beliefs and influenced by indigenous traditions, placed the king in a position of divine authority, often seen as an incarnation of deities like Vishnu or Shiva. The Devaraja, or whatever say, cult provided a religious basis for the king's rule, justifying his power and authority. So that's what that has in the oldest religion. Y'all have to understand when you're dealing with a discovery like that right there on the screen. And I promise, once I actually get the feeling that people start to respect my work and understand what is going on with my work and the value of it, the way that I carry myself as far as seeming like I could be kind of cocky, it all is going to come down a lot. That's where I'm going to water back down to where I was at. Because that's all I want it to be is zero anyway. I'm not trying to be above anybody, but I have to make it in life. And I feel like people are trying to force me at that point because I know what I'm showing is amazing, but I'm not being showed that it's amazing in return. And so due to the fact that I'm being shortcutted, I'm going to have to, or the way that I've seen things is I have to compensate for that. Because that's cutting me in life. That's not helping me. Me not getting comments, me not getting likes, knowing that there's a rapper out here that you like videos of and they're talking about something that ain't really helping you. They ain't saying nothing that you ain't heard before, but you like their music. You gonna like their posts. You gonna support them and they ain't doing nothing for you at all. That's how backwards the world is. Then you come across somebody who on the real, they even voice and speak that they trying to help you as far as ancient history, help you understand the spiritual realm of things from a higher, more concrete and proven perspective of things. Y'all sit up there and y'all look over him and you want to question things about him, but you don't question shit about your favorite rappers and singers and shit if you ain't into rapping and actors and shit. You know, it's just crazy to me. And YouTubers, other YouTubers, it's just absolutely bananas for real. So, I mean, it just don't make no sense. You got plenty of people who ain't showing no proof of nothing. You got a nigga right here showing proof, and there ain't no game about it. You talking about something all over the earth. I ain't seen nobody do no shit like that in my life. Where do you see people do stuff like this every day? The Fibonacci sequence is the closest thing that you're going to come across. That's the closest thing. There is nothing else mathematically as far as a discovery you could discover that you see replicated out here in nature, because the Fibonacci sequence literally builds nearly everything else that you see out there in nature. Very important to understand. From pine cones to the way that our hair grows with the spiral and shit like that. Yeah. And then you have my discovery. It's showing you not the spiral aspect of stuff, though the spiral is there. You have to draw the center numbers. You have to pay attention real good and look at the spiral that's going on there. Because when you zoom into the other zero, you got to turn it. And when you zoom into another zero, you got to turn it. And at that point, it's spiraling. So the Fibonacci, not just the Fibonacci sequence spiral, but other considered spirals are here in my work as well. But what this more so has to deal with is the expansion directions that everything in the universe goes from one point. The infinite directions that you could choose to go. So The fact that, and when I say infinite directions, I know that you have quarter-based and simple directions. I mean infinite directions as far as degrees. There's an infinite amount of degrees of turns that you could literally choose to turn in any walk in life. That's going to help you end up in a different direction on Earth, as long as you keep on turning. If you understand, I know sometimes I'm too deep as far as my thinking and speaking, but I mean literally the radians of a circle and degrees of a circle literally are points that you could turn just by turning. It's like shooting a gun. If you shoot a gun, you turn it, or any degree amount is going to affect based on how far somebody is you shooting away, whether you hit them or not. What destination you end up at is what I'm getting at. And so that's very important to understand, man. So this is one of the most powerful discoveries, like I've said, on Earth, and it shall not be looked over. I don't care how crazy that sounds. I'm just keeping it real. It shall not be looked over, bro. I'm not allowing that. That's crazy. That's why I am like I am, because I'm not allowing it. It's absolutely wild. So you have that like that, then you have this. So which one is this, y'all? When you look at this, which one is this? If the Chicana solar is that one and you have Chicana lunar, which one is this one? Because what's the difference there? What makes them different if we be real? The count of steps. Understand? So if those are different, you can understand that this right here would be different too. Because of what? The count of steps. And so what would that be called? Until y'all can actually answer that question, I'm showing you what it's called. And I deserve my respect a lot. I have to be redundant because the fact is, y'all are using the same numbers every single day, over and over again. Okay, well, what I've discovered is actually something that needs to be shown over and over again because people have never known it. And it has to deal with the numbers that you use every day, over and over again. When you pump your gas, when you wake up at a set alarm time every morning and go to work at a certain time, when you choose how big your cup of coffee is on 1, 2, or 3, when you heat up your food in the microwave, when you get the dialing up stuff, your code for your phone to get in your phone, the clock that's right there, the numbers this is literally the common thing. Like I showed all of those different languages speak different languages. They speak different languages, but this is one thing that we'll always understand, and that's numbers. It's something that ain't changed. And that's a certain set of numbers, and that's 0 through 9. That's very important to understand. So I'm gonna let this one end there, bro. I'm not gonna keep this going too long. I don't want to be too strict.